Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today's guests are Kayleigh Christina and Danielle Gronich of Clear Stem Skincare, a skincare line that uses stem cells to battle acne and aging at the same time. This conversation was pretty neat for us because we got to talk about two really different things. Skin health and how our skin is the beacon of what's happening inside our bodies, and business development specifically as it pertains to developing a physical product, in this case, a totally new skincare line. If either or both of those things is fascinating to you as it was to us, you'll really enjoy the many twists and turns of this conversation. There's tons to learn. Our show's sponsor is Primal Health Coach Institute, an NBHWC-approved health coaching school. This means that our graduates can qualify to sit for the national board exam to become a board-certified health coach. You can learn more about our Master Coach certification track at primalhealthcoach.com/mastercoach. While you're there visiting our website, navigate to primalhealthcoach.com/primalpro and learn all about the done-for-you 12-week app-based health coaching program we've put together so that certified health coaches can hit the ground running with an effective and transformational health coaching program right out of the gate. We know that developing program materials and sourcing a client management solution are two of the most show-stopping hurdles getting in the way of new coaches getting started. So we made Primal Pro for you. Check it out at primalhealthcoach.com/primalpro. As you're listening, please take a screen grab of your podcast player and tag us in your Instagram stories at Health Coach Radio. And always remember the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. With all of that out of the way, we're ready to get started with today's episode. Please welcome Clear Stem Skincare's Kayleigh Christina and Danielle Gronich.
All right, we have Kayleigh Christina and Danielle here. We are super excited to bring you because this is a topic we really have never addressed here on Health Coach Radio. So we're excited to dig in. You guys are the skincare dynamic duo, but with health coaching backgrounds. So that's really cool. So we're going to kind of navigate through this. The first step, we always just like to hear your origin story, both individually, and then one of you can kind of choose to tell how you guys hooked up to kind of come together as a team. So which of you would, how about, let's start with Kayleigh. Kayleigh, let's start with your background story, and then we'll pass it over to Danielle.
Okay, sounds good. Our story is one of my favorites because it's like truly the greatest gift from the universe, how we merged together. It's incredible. So my background was in the corporate world for quite some time, but during that I had gone through a lot of different health issues. I diagnosed with celiac, SIBO, got things going on. So I went back to school to get my degree in nutrition. So during this time, I was still working in the corporate world, traveling a ton, got my degree. I was working with clients, and out of nowhere, I started to experience horrible cystic acne. Like I had it was bright red cystic acne, covered my entire face in a matter of a couple months. I was going to every single doctor, dermatologist, esthetician. I couldn't get answers from anyone. The only answers I was given was go on antibiotics, go on specific types of birth control, or go on Accutane. My lymph nodes were so swollen around my acne. I had one doctor that just wanted to remove those lymph nodes. I couldn't get answers anywhere. And after months and months of my own research, of going to doctors, I was just feeling so depleted. I was also feeling like such a failure as a health coach as well. So I was like, I'm working with these clients. I can't even heal myself in my own body. What is going on? So I was so close to going on Accutane. I really didn't want to because of all the education I had. I now knew what it did to the body. So I wasn't just blindly taking it. And so I'd started the process to take it, really didn't want to. In the middle of the process, one last Google search and up pops San Diego Acne Clinic. I was like, all right, this is my last shot. And so I go in. San Diego Acne Clinic is the clinic that Danielle is the owner and founder of. We meet. I just so happen to be her last client of the day. So she's able to spend more time with me. She had me bring in every makeup I was using, skincare, hair care. We chatted all about diet, what I was eating every day, stress levels. And what I learned was, though I was so grateful for all of my health coaching training and going back to nutrition school as well, there is this whole other side of health and wellness that applies to acne and skin health. And there's even so many healthy things that trigger acne, things that are very much given to clients as a part of their, health plans and nutrition plans. And I learned all of this through Danielle. We combined all of our knowledge as well. We got to know each other so well. I'd lay on her table every 2 weeks. We would chat the whole time about all things health and wellness. And I will let Danielle pick it up from here, but this is kind of right around where ClearStem was born.
Every time you tell that story, my heart just goes right back to my first office and like our nights together. And it's just like the best feeling. Basically that is how we met. So San Diego Acne Clinic was my first business, and it's here in La Jolla, San Diego. And I started that business when I was like 30 because I had horrible cystic acne for like over 10 years. It just runs in my family really bad on both sides. So never stood a chance. Right. So I did the whole typical dermatologist thing. They put you on antibiotics forever, birth control, all the stuff, spironolactone. And then I had to do Accutane multiple times. Like I did it 2 full rounds. And then during my 3rd round, I had to stop halfway through because the side effects were too gnarly. And each time my acne came back within like 3 or 4 months. So, and it got all the side effects. So I was like, this is stupid. So I was 29 and dealing with the last failed round of Accutane. And I happened to have a biology background. I studied biology, immunology, and genetics all through school and college. I just did everything I could without having to actually go to medical school because I was so disenchanted with the medical system by that point, because it was literally just, what prescription do you want to try? And let's remove your lymph nodes. Like, it's just stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So I was in the corporate world, but still always like read lab papers and white paper and just like really kept up on the biology knowledge. So as I'm sitting there and like, okay, I just need to get access to the classes about acne so I can solve this for myself. So that landed me in esthetician school so I could get access to the knowledge. While I was there, I was like, oh my God, this treating acne, like this part of it is the medical profession I always wanted, but didn't know existed. So I created San Diego. I learned from a bunch of I worked at like med spas and like learned about lasers and like learned everything I could. And then about 1.5 years after all that learning, I started San Diego Acne Clinic. And it just really took off from there. I mean, I spend 1.5 hours with people when they first come in, and we go over what they're eating, when they're eating it. We go over the amounts of things that are in their vitamins, what's the ingredients in their skincare products, how often are they exfoliating? Because if you have acne, you have to exfoliate. But there's no proper guidance on that generally. And if you go to a dermatologist, they have like 12 minutes with you, and their only objective is to match you with a prescription. It just is. That's the system we live in. So the San Diego Acne Clinic is basically the opposite of that. In my first year, I got to meet Kayleigh, and we went through the checklist that we have for all the triggers there. Eggs was one of them. Eggs, just like they have a protein that's hard to digest for a lot of people. So it creates a lot of cystic acne in the cheeks. So that was a big trigger, even though it's, perceived as healthy. And then there was a lot of excess stuff in her vitamins. And then there was some topical stuff too, like coconut oil and her hair conditioner. And it was like an expensive hair conditioner. Kayleigh had the blog, like the wellness blog. So she got sent like fancy products all the time. So she showed up with like a bag of like $2,000 worth of like high-end products, but most of it was filled with pore cloggers. So we eliminated the ones that weren't working for her, replaced it with the stuff that would be better for her skin. And she got better like immediately. And then within 2 months, it was like it never existed. Like all the scarring was gone, all the acne was gone. And it was just a really, it was a great time for us. And during that time, I was formulating a stem cell serum to help get rid of acne scars for my ethnic clients. Because if you have darker skin, you scar really easily. And you can't do aggressive lasers and peels on skin like that because they can hyperpigment. Anyway, I'm like, how do we heal this from a different angle? So it's formulating a stem cell serum. And Kayleigh, we just would geek out on ingredients and wellness and all the things. So I would give her the lab samples. I'm like, test this one. Tell me what you think of this one. And we just loved that process so much that that we, figured out the perfect stem cell serum. And I was only selling it in the clinic, but then it was a hit. And then one of my other clinic patients, he was an Amazon guy. He put it on Amazon. He's like, let me try this. Like, you have something here. So I put it on Amazon, it blows up, and we're like, this has legs. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, as I'm describing this, like, this product is anti-aging and anti-acne. It's anti-aging because it calms the skin. It gives us like superfood nutrition in the form of like stem cells. And it's also good for acne because it's calming everything down with like turmeric and green tea. And I'm like, I want something that's anti-aging and anti-acne because by that time I'm 31, but I'm still very acne prone. So I'm like, I wonder if this concept is a thing. And sure enough, Kayleigh was like, I think it is a thing. Like, let me market this. Like, let's test it out. And like the universe spoke. And yeah, it's a thing. Because a lot of us want anti-aging, but we're still acne prone.
What we realized was we had created this product that was anti-acne, anti-aging, non-toxic, and we had all this education that people didn't know. Like, people didn't know that excess vitamin D triggers acne, excess zinc does, excess B12, eggs, all these different things, dairy. And we found out that creating a line of products that were anti-acne, anti-aging, and non-toxic, and providing all of this education was truly getting people clear. And it worked. It was providing them with the knowledge and education empowerment to heal their own body, but also using the correct topical ingredients to heal externally too.
Wow.
Yeah. So long story short, Kayleigh, we were doing it like part-time, just like growing it. And then it just grew so much. And then Kayleigh left her full-time job a couple of years ago. And I am retiring from doing treatments right now. And we're just like full steam ahead with ClearStem because it's just grown so much.
Wow.
Oh
Cool.
So much to talk about, right, Erin?
There is a lot to talk about. Well, there's a million things to dive into. So we'll probably go a lot of different directions. But one thing that really jumped out at me, Danielle, was you started the San Diego Acne Clinic. Like, that is so specific. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like Beauty by Danielle or anything like that. It's like San Diego Acne.
I love that. Like, I just absolutely love a clear specialty. I mean, this is something we teach all of our health entrepreneurs, like, zero in on something very specific, because, in Kayleigh's origin story was that I was struggling with acne. I found this acne clinic. She was specifically seeking for help with acne. So clients are specifically seeking for help with a thing. So this generalist approach probably wouldn't have drawn Kayleigh in. Like, she was seeking acne help, right? And so I absolutely love that you zeroed in on that as a business model. I just wanted to kind of highlight that.
I love that you mentioned that, Erin, because we now have so many health coaches, NTPs, IHPs that we've met through the social media space, have met through ClearStem, and then have also become clinic patients of Danielle's. I can list like 5 or 6 off the top of my head. And now they've shifted their own businesses, like their websites, everything, to helping men and women clear with acne. Yeah. They release programs talking about it based on like our education we provided them. They recommend, like, they create their own nutrition programs, but then recommend ClearStem in conjunction to it to get their clients clear faster. And it's been really fun to see the inspiration that so many health coaches have gotten from our education, so they can niche down and know what to talk about on social media, and know what blog posts to write, and know what to talk about when they get on podcasts, and their businesses are even more successful because of that.
Yeah. If we think about cystic acne generally, and you are the expert, so you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my knowledge from having gone through holistic nutrition school, it is essentially kind of an autoimmune response. So it probably stems from gut dysbiosis or leaky gut of some kind. Maybe there's a trigger there. There's probably a lot more. But I'm pulling this out as an example because we have a lot of folks who say, I specialize in gut health. I specialize in autoimmune diseases. It's like, get more specific. Which one? Pick one. Really pick one. Because this is how honestly successful businesses are born. By being
being really specific, especially nowadays, because there's so much of everything. Being a generalist doesn't really get it at all. and no one's going to be able to find you. You're going to be fielding calls all day. They're asking for other stuff. And you're just like, damn it, my website should have just said Lyme disease specialist.
Yeah, and you get to be such an expert in your area. I mean, if you even think about dermatologists, people go to them for acne, for moles, for skin cancer, for skin tags, like all these different things, and you only get 10 minutes with them. Like, how could they ever be so specific and have such a specialty in acne when they have to treat literally the entire body of skin and thousands of skin concerns? Like, you can't be an expert in one area unless you focus on that and you're treating those types of people every day. So you're learning more within that specific niche. Like, you're becoming more successful and so much more educated to then be able to provide more education and better results for clients.
Well, in both of your stories, I think, resonate with people moving in this direction so much. The story of, I tried to go the conventional road, it didn't work, so I had to go out and find another road for myself. This is such a common sort of trend. It's a common story, all with different, edges to their story. But that path is so common. I'm one of them too. Erin's one of them. People that, had whatever issue it was, went through conventional means, was pathetically unsuccessful till I finally just spent a crap ton of money and time trying to figure it out myself and finally finding a practitioner that got it. So that story, I think, resonates with so many people. And just kind of piggybacking on I went one time to a dermatologist because I had to have a mole removed. And of course, the guy's asking me about acne. Clearly, that was not my problem, right? And I did say, well, I get like this one right here every time I get my period, right? More of a hormonal thing than, and so he's like, well, I can prescribe you an antibiotic to take when you get your period. I'm like, what?
No.
People,
And what? Antibiotics destroy your gut health, and your gut health is even extra important around the time of your period. Like, your immune system needs to be so strong to support your body. Like, what? That's going to make everything so much worse. Like, that makes no sense.
Zero. And I was a relatively new health coach at the time. And I knew enough to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And holy cow, if this is the kind of advice traditional dermatologists are giving to people that don't know any better, boy, are we like, it's enough to make you kind of throw up your hands and be like, F it, So can you, for the standpoint of our audience, kind of help break down sort of acne, what's behind it? So and first of all, define cystic acne and how you can recognize what it is. Generally speaking, how it's different than maybe what I was describing or other types of acne, and how health coaches can work within, where can we influence?
Sure. So cystic acne it's just described by like large, painful lumps, basically, where they don't really have a head. Mm-hmm. It can just appear like a red lump sometimes, or it can be like just inflammation on top of inflammation, where it looks like little hills, but not necessarily like a pimple that you could like pinpoint and squeeze, basically. Wow. So cystic acne has a lot to do. It's usually internal trigger, but you can get cystic acne very easily just from topical pore cloggers. Cystic acne has to do with how quickly your skin produces keratin protein. So for people like me that produce like a lot of skin protein, like I have really thick skin, like anything that clogs my pore from like, say like a sunscreen that has a pore clogger ingredient, my skin grows so fast that it swallows it up, and then it is so buried underneath that now your body recognizes an invader, creates a bunch of inflammation, sends a bunch of T cells, and now you have like a cyst, basically, right? So that's the type of acne. It can be caused by a lot of different things, but then there's different types of acne, like just like your classic pustule. And that's going to be like your whitehead, the kind of thing where you can't help but like lean into the mirror and like attack it, and then it, squeezes out right then and there. Like that's different than cystic. So both can be helped with ice packing. If you have just like the 1 a month visitor, ice pack that thing, like push it back down with a cold, just something frozen, and that will help it go away. You do not need to take antibiotics for that. But acne in general has a lot of different causes all operating at once. There's external triggers and internal triggers. I would literally, after doing thousands and thousands of treatments and analyzing everyone's products, about 90% of skincare that you could buy, whether it's from CVS or Nordstrom, or farmer's market, it doesn't matter. They all have like pore clogging ingredients, things that are thicker than our natural oil that clog our pores. that is what causes a ton of acne. The technical term is acne cosmetica, but that requires you to know what ingredients you're trying to avoid and then actually do the work to check them. People don't like to do that. So they'll be like, okay, my acne is just hormonal because it gets worse during my period. And that's usually what a dermatologist will say. So then they just put you on birth control or something like that. So everyone thinks their acne is just this like hormone monster that they have no control over. And that's really not true at all. So checking your ingredients for pore cloggers is the number one thing, and you'll be shocked. And I always want to encourage people not to make assumptions, because you're like, oh, I've been using this for years, it can't be the problem. Companies reformulate all the time. And then if it's like, oh, but it's organic, that doesn't matter either. For food, it's extremely important, but coconut oil is a perfect example. It's so thick, it's a solid at room temperature. So it can be organic all day long. It can be blessed by a shaman. It doesn't matter. It is so much thicker than your natural oil that it will clog you up. So checking ingredients is like the number one thing. And for a health coach, you're like, I don't have time to do that. Just send them to our website. We made it so they can copy and paste their ingredients and it'll pop up if there's something aggravating their skin topically. But the internal stuff that people could be helping their clients with are mainly, there's like 4 vitamins that in excess, Kayleigh mentioned, in excess, they can affect your hormones. Excessive B12 is like the most common, because you'll get a B complex vitamin and it'll have like 20,000% of your RDI, your recommended daily intake. Like that's obscene. You can't possibly get that much from a food source. So from food is where you want to get it. But if you're taking a supplement like that, it's like too much in one dose and it can jack up your testosterone and literally create hormonal acne.
And a lot of times there is now added B12 in so many beverages. I mean, anything that has to do with like nootropics or energy, whether it's clean or not, doesn't matter. Like 99.9% of the time, there is always added B12 because that's a natural source of energy. So someone might be taking a supplement with B12 in it. They might be eating like an energy bar or something like that has B12 in it. They might be drinking a nootropic drink in the middle of the day that also has B12. So you could be taking like 200,000% of B12 throughout the day and not even know and not even realizing it.
Yeah. Wow.
So B12 is a supplement that plant-based eaters commonly consume. So is it mostly the supplement form that's problematic or just B12 in general?
No, it's just the supplement form because of the dosage. Yeah, we want to be really clear that these vitamins are extremely important. You do not want to be deficient. It's when you get into the obscenely high amounts. Like there's an old saying in pharmacology, the difference between a medicine and a poison is the dosage. It's the same with vitamins.
Yeah. You know, what's funny too, is this has come up twice where I've had clients tell me, hey, I'm going to this gym or I'm, insert whatever business. And they have they want to know if I want these B12 injections.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, so first of all, what made them offer this to you in the first place? Were you complaining about something? Tell me a little bit about what kind of led to this conversation and what do you feel about it? And I'm, and a couple of them, they're like, no, they just offer it. Like no one even asked them what their life is like. And, like what purpose does it serve is what I was asking. What purpose do you believe that sort of B12 injection? So I could totally see someone being like, well, that sounds awesome, B12, and get that injected. Plus the nootropic drinks are huge. I don't know how many people are sucking back energy drinks so much. They're nootropic because there's vitamins in them. Mm-hmm. And then plus you have a multivitamin.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And
it can just be a lot.
We've been so trained that we're deficient in vitamins, which a lot of us are, because we know because of the soil and the way food is grown now, like a lot of us are deficient in vitamins. So we just think like anything that has vitamins in it, like I just need to have more of any, like it's fine, but we're not realizing that there are certain vitamins that in excess are triggering major hormonal imbalances. And we're just blaming it on, oh, I have hormonal acne. Oh, I have a hormonal acne, and not stopping and thinking I might be eating something, ingesting something that is causing this hormonal imbalance. Like there is a root cause to a hormonal imbalance. And it could be like, we've had so many people like even that just reach out to us on the ClearStem DMs. And one of the first things we do is we have them check their pore clogging ingredients, and we have them check their supplements. And sometimes it's as easy as removing one of their, like switching one of their supplements, and their skin is clear and it clears up in a few weeks because like that. So a lot of times many people have many triggers going on, but sometimes it's like 1 or 2 triggers that people have going on. But vitamin B12 is a big one. There's a couple other ones as well. Vitamin D. is a big one in excess. And that's one that was pushed so much during the pandemic. Vitamin D and zinc, actually, both. I'm just going to talk about them both at the same time because they are two vitamins that have been pushed so heavily over the last 2 years. It's like, eat all your vitamin D and zinc, good for your immune system, which again, two very important. And zinc is really important for skin health. Both of those in excess trigger acne. Vitamin D, the reason why that triggers acne is it triggers testosterone production. A lot of men, as they get older and their testosterone drops, one of the first natural ways to increase testosterone that they're given is a high dose of vitamin D. So it's well known in the medical community that vitamin D is linked to increasing testosterone. Us as women, if we're starting to shoot up testosterone, that means all of our other hormones are now out of balance too. Men can sometimes handle a little bit more of increased testosterone because that's like, their leading hormone. But us as women, we're so fragile with our hormonal changes throughout the month. We can't deal with shooting up our testosterone levels. That'll create a heavy oil production in the skin and cause cystic acne.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
This is a lot. Yeah. So we're just down the rabbit hole of like, maybe your acne is a hormonal imbalance, but if so, there's a root cause, and the root cause might be vitamin D, which is jacking up your testosterone.
Yeah. And again, it's too much vitamin D. If you're taking, so what I see a lot of the time is people come in and they're taking a standalone vitamin D supplement and it'll be like 600 to 800%. So 6 to 8 times what they would normally be getting. Then they also have a multivitamin that has 250%. So they're getting 10x what they would normally get. And that's not counting what they're getting from food sources. So that much excess is of a vitamin that is fat soluble that stores up. That's where the problem creates. Because you can take as much vitamin C as you want. It's water soluble. It doesn't have a hormone side effect. That's fine. There are some vitamins that are fat soluble and affect your hormones. So that's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, so there's someone like my daughter who, she was suffering from some health problems, went into the doctor and had a blood test done, and she was pretty deficient in vitamin D. And the doctor,
everyone is
like, I know everyone is, but it was like 500,000, I'm sorry, 50,000 IU is like really, really high.
Wow.
So I guess my question is, if somebody's deficient, is the body going to absorb that readily and we're not going to have this issue, like deeply deficient, right? Or is it maybe better to supplement at a little bit of a lower dose? If you're getting acne for now, your body will continue to absorb that, but it's that big, huge punch all at once that might cause an issue. Can our bodies only absorb so much at one time? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think from what I know about absorption, it is unique to everyone. There's a lot of things that can affect absorption. I mean, a super high amount to get you normal and then going to a normal amount. I mean, especially for like a little kid who's like bones are forming and whose mental health is a little more fragile. I mean, unless there's an issue with that high of a supplement, I think it's fine. But I don't think that you can absorb that much in one sitting. I think that you can take it and then also make it a point to go get sunshine. Like your body wants to absorb and metabolize things the way that it was designed to. You can't just rig it.
Also, to keep in mind that vitamin D is fat soluble, so it stays in your body a little bit longer rather than like a B12 that, if you do get a B12 injection, your pee changes color, right? You pee it out a lot faster. Vitamin D does stay fat soluble. So if someone is, again, I'm not giving any recommendations for people who are medically deficient, but just saying in general, if someone wants to take a vitamin D supplement because they do believe they're a little deficient, again, we all are, it might not be a vitamin you need to take every day. Like every other day, every 2 days, because it does stay in your body a little bit longer. So we don't need it to build on top of each other.
Yeah. And again, this is for people who are acne prone. You'll know you're having too much vitamin D if you're breaking out in your chin. Mm-hmm. That's like where it gets everyone. If you're one of those unicorns that doesn't ever break out, take as much vitamin D as you can.
Your chin.
God bless you.
You'll break out in your chin area. That's like the testosterone.
Yeah, you have the deepest hair follicles are right where you'd have like a goatee. So that's where you're going to see a spike in hormonal acne if something is messing with your testosterone.
Oh, well, I had very bad chin acne and my doctor put me on Accutane for it.
Of course.
To be honest with you, when you were both sharing your origin stories about Accutane and how close, Danielle, you did 2 courses of it, and Kayleigh, you got close. That was actually my only time in my history of life where a doctor threw a medication at me. And it's a really bad one. It's a very freaking bad one. I have one kidney that doesn't work. Yeah, one of the worst. Yeah. Anyways, Okay, so we have B12, vitamin D, zinc. Is there more that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, if you're acne prone, biotin will make it worse. It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. So biotin, if it's in a multivitamin, it's usually not anything to worry about. But if you're like, oh, I want to work on my hair and my skin, you go get a hair, skin, and nails vitamin. It's all biotin. And it'll have like between 15,000 to 20,000% of your biotin. And that will create a major acne flare up within like a few days. You'll notice it. So the root cause of acne, like one of the genetic thing that makes you break out, it's called hyperkeratosis. Well, retention hyperkeratosis. Basically, keratosis is the rate that you make keratin protein. Hyper means more. So hyperkeratosis, we make more skin protein. That's why our pores get clogged a lot easier. That's why, and then they don't like shed as easily as like a lot of other people. So when you add biotin to it, it's the reason it stimulates your hair is because your hair is made of keratin. So it just hyper produces even more keratin. So if you're acne prone and you start taking biotin, you'll notice that it gets way worse. You'll probably start getting little bumps on your arms. You'll notice it.
Right.
But again, that's a dosage thing too. If it's below like 200, if biotin is below like 200% ish of your RDI, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're getting, again, a standalone supplement with it, or if it's like a higher amount, like we like these energy drinks and they have 1,000% of your biotin and we break out like crazy from them. So it really is just a dosage thing.
Oh my God. Hey, something's good. More's got to be better, right?
So like, so this, we're being very clear. These in excess are problematic.
Yes.
If you're
Excess.
acne prone.
Yes.
If you're acne, that's the other caveat. So what if like, are there people who are not acne prone? Like, is that really a thing? People who aren't acne prone?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a genetic, acne is a genetic predisposition and there's some people that just don't have that. It's definitely a genetic thing.
Okay. And there's a lot of people though that, one of the big reasons why I created our line, majority of people who use our line are between the ages of like 24, 25 and 40, because we have so many men and women who have never dealt with acne before in their past that all of a sudden out of what feels like nowhere in their mid-20s starting to break out. And there's a lot of different things going on. One, we have a little more disposable income. So we're trying more skincare, more makeup, all the different things, different hair care. We have a lot more products we're working around. So there's a lot more chances of increased pore clogging ingredients. But also our stress levels are a lot different. We go through a couple different hormonal changes throughout our life. We go through another one in our mid to late 20s as well. And the food that we're eating is very different too. You graduate college, you don't have the exact meal plan anymore. You're eating on your own. Your work schedule is different. And so there's so many people that are dealing with acne for the very first time in their mid-20s. They're like, what? I'm not a teenager. What's going on? And this is why we provided all this different education. It's to empower everyone to get to the root cause, because there is one. There's something going on. And then it could be, they're dealing with SIBO, gut issues, digestion issues. They could have really low stomach acid that's not breaking down food properly, not getting digested. They might be eating gluten where, we have food leaking out into our bloodstream, causing inflammation, then causing acne. So there's all these different things that are happening when we hit our mid-20s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You mentioned stress as one of them. Maybe we can start kind of going through them bit by bit, because why this is crucial for our audience is health coaches. We were talking before we pressed record that just about all my clients have some skin issue where they're not coming to me for it, but on their intake form, they'll say eczema, psoriasis, acne. They just mention it and I have eczema. And it's like, well, that's not normal. Let's talk about that. Right. So zeroing in on acne, coaches will have clients that present with this. So let's start walking through these things. So stress, let's talk about the effect of stress as it pertains to
I love this because as a previous health coach, and Danielle and I both having so many friends that are in this space, I hear from one particularly that's a good friend of ours. She's a health coach, but also a fitness trainer. And she works with so many people, so many women, men and women both, that come to her and are doing high cardio every single day. They might be doing HIIT workouts, Soul Cycle, you name it. They're working. They have been told in the past, due to like MyFitnessPal and things like that, losing weight, that they have to eat within a certain amount of calories, and they're being told to eat like 1,500, 1,800 calories, and their bodies are so stressed out. And one of the first recommendations is cutting back on those HIIT workouts, those high intensity workouts. And the clients are deathly afraid of doing that. They're like, no. If I stop my HIIT workouts, I'm going to gain weight. Like what? High cardio. This is going to be this is the only way I stay skinnier, like whatever verbiage they use. This is the only way I, stay at a lower weight. And when you can finally convince a client that's like dealing with such high stress levels to slow down and do more like weight training, Pilates, walking, it is crazy how much sometimes the weight just falls off because and how fast their skin clears up too. Because when we are doing all these intense workouts mixed with stress, mixed with a really low calorie diet, we are stressing our bodies out so much. Our cortisol levels are so high, which is keeping us in a constant state of inflammation, which many times is triggering a lot of acne. And when we can lower those cortisol levels, which is a very important hormone, our stress levels come down and our inflammation goes down and our body stops holding on to as much fat because it was in a fight or flight mode before where it's holding on. It's not letting go of fat. It's like, oh, you might not feed me again, or you're going to do an intense workout. So I can't let go of this fat. But when you finally tell the body to do that, it just releases. And then you see the inflammation in the skin going down and the bright red cystic acne calming down. The whole body just gets to a little more of a homeostasis. So cortisol and stress levels play such an important role in not only whole body wellness, but also with acne healing.
Yes, it does. Very true. Big time stressor, big time inflamer.
Mm-hmm.
Massive source of inflammation is stress. It's so interesting because, working with sort of high performing, high achieving, let's call it high achieving people, you can say that to them, there is a stress link to this. Can we work on mitigating some stress? Oh, well, no, I'm just very busy. It's like, okay, well, this is how it works, right? It can be frustrating, and there's not often a direct link for the health consumer. So I think it's up to the health coach to really understand that mechanism you just explained, the chronic stress mechanism, and really be able to explain it to clients clearly. Cool.
Yeah, the stress component is definitely, it's a thing, and it's so pervasive, and it can be like, sometimes I feel like people might not even know they're stressed, but all the things in our daily life, like being on a screen, scrolling all the time, things grabbing our attention constantly. I mean, and if you're a parent, like forget about it. Like you signed up for stress for at least 18 years, right? You never stop worrying about your kid. But like all the things that are normal are inherently stressful on our nervous system. So, I mean, it's just something that's like, if we were to go back and visit our ancestors and what their daily pace of life was, they went down with the sun, they rose with the sun.
Yep.
They didn't have noise at them all the time. They weren't being shown advertisements all the time. They don't have this FOMO thing that is, just rampant. Like there's just so much stimulation that it is inherently stressful on our primitive systems.
One of my pet peeves right now is that we believe that living in a sympathetic fight or flight state is normal. And then you just pop into parasympathetic occasionally, like, oh, I did a 5-minute meditation. Oh, I went into a float tank. It's like, actually, it's meant to be a yin yang fully. In my opinion, we're probably supposed to be mostly in a parasympathetic state.
Yeah.
Dropping into sympathetic fight or flight when we need to. But we have completely got this upside down. It is crazy.
Yeah, especially in America.
Oh yeah. And so the school that Erin and I work for, we talk about this all the time, about what our bodies were actually built to do and just how beautifully and brilliantly designed it is if in the right environment. It's when we bastardize the environment in which this body is living, and stress being one of them is tremendous. And clearly for so many people, food is one of the biggest triggers. And you guys already talked about eggs. I would imagine mostly egg whites.
It's egg whites.
Protein.
Yep.
And that people tend to react.
You're in the healthcare space when you actually know that.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah. So what else? I mean, what other foods tend to be common triggers for this stuff?
Peanuts are a big one. And it's the occasional peanut is not a bad thing, but if you're having peanut butter every day, like you're using that as a source of protein, that's where it gets you. High omega-6 inflammatory profile, and it's a high androgen food. So switch it out for pretty much any other type of butter. I think the best nut is macadamia. I think it's just like the most underrated superfood ever.
Okay.
Anyway, so peanuts, eggs, dairy is the biggest one. Dairy is just not good for us any way you slice it. Whey protein is the worst. It's a lot of whey protein is made from like the byproduct of cheese production, and it's just disgusting. It's a very insulinogenic, insulin triggering food. It has insulin like growth factor hormones. So not only that, if you're actually working on weight loss, I do think that it can work against you because it's spiking your insulin. You think you're having protein, but really it's having a similar effect to sugar. So then it messes with your insulin sensitivity. So yeah, whey protein for a variety of reasons is just gnarly on the body. A lot of men, like young bodybuilder men, can get away with it, and that's great for them. But for the purpose of this conversation, it's like the number one bad guy.
Yeah, I learned that in holistic nutrition school. If it's skin or mood, ditch the dairy. That was the sort of the rule. But the fact that dairy proteins can be insulinogenic, is that the reason why it's acne triggering, or is it because it's potentially inflammatory?
It's insulin-like growth factor hormone. It's called IGF-1. That's the main hormone that creates issue for people. And then a lot of people just don't metabolize dairy well anyway.
Wow.
So it is those little messenger proteins in there that create a message to the skin, and it basically is like a signal to grow. But what that means on a follicle is that like your oil is growing and your skin is like being reacted to. It's reacting to that. So that's when, if you're acne prone, that's when you'll notice a difference. You'll notice a breakout from dairy within like usually the next day. I would say less than 24 hours for most people. Like you have pizza, you wake up with it, that kind of thing. Like it is that much of a direct effect. And then if you have oil.
Oh, sorry. Just like what you said, Erin, too, with the inflammation link, cheeses in general, just so highly processed. And of course, as we all know in this conversation, that processed food is inflammatory. So cheese kind of falls also within that category of just highly processed inflammatory, like all the oils, packaged foods, all that stuff we have going on.
Yeah. When you think about, when I look at like, so I have a 23-year-old son, and we have a gym in our house. It was in our garage at the time, and his buddies would all come over and work out in there. And a lot of them carry a lot of acne, and they're chugging back protein shakes, worse, with scoops of that PB whatever powder crap.
Oh, ew.
Adding in there. Like, talk about a double whammy. When I think through the body composition people that are trying to meet macros, peanut butter, or that peanut butter powder, and whey protein and yogurt is another one, like fat-free yogurt, egg whites is another one that sort of macros crowd really gravitate to. It's like 4 big bombs. Like,
when you think about what teenage boys eat, no wonder so many of them are put on Accutane and men develop way more serious acne than women do, like in those teenage years. Mm-hmm. But think about the average male athlete in middle school and high school. When he gets to high school, they're taking all those pre-workouts, and creatines are like sneaking stuff in between their lockers for all that high energy stuff. They're drinking their protein powders. They're going home and chugging down milk. They're so hungry after practice. And if there's processed food in the house, they're eating it all, whatever is served at that school lunch. I mean, of course, these boys are dealing with so much acne, like not only all their hormonal changes, but just think what the average, like, if he's playing high school sports, like what he's eating.
Oh yeah.
And drinking.
And these boys can put away an entire pizza.
Exactly. They're so hungry that like they just need to eat insane amounts of food. So they're going to eat whatever is in front of them at whatever times, and they are not going to care. Yeah. I'm just like literally picturing my brother, like when he'd get home from school and just like eat everything in the entire house and every single drawer and just chug back milk from the carton. Like they eat, drink everything.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Are there any other foods we should keeping an eye on?
Gluten is a really big one. I'm sure pretty much everyone listening to this already knows this. But just to reiterate, when you eat gluten, it goes through the digestive system, bores little tiny holes in our intestines to allow that to permeate, to then allow other food to leak out into our bloodstream, causing inflammation, leading to SIBO, different infections, viruses, bacteria, you name it. So gluten is like the Kickstarter to a lot of things for people. So that's all right. I mean, that's a big one to get rid of for inflammation. And like a lot of times when people are dealing with so many different food allergies, and, you know, they might take a food allergy test and it's showing up so many random different foods, right? I know this happened for me, and they get so scared because they're like, oh, I have to give up all of these foods for the rest of my, raspberries for the rest of my life. But many times if you're eating gluten and that, you know, you have those permeated holes and all that food's leaking into your bloodstream, it can really throw off food allergy tests, because then it's just showing you're being triggered to everything. So removing gluten, removing dairy, letting your body heal, going back to it. Many times those foods that you were originally triggered by or make you really bloated or show up on food allergy tests, many times you can bring back in. It's just you're really caught in a big state of inflammation where you're being triggered by everything. There's also a lot of foods that mimic gluten when you're in an inflammatory state, even like rice, quinoa, like other grains that might be safe and you might be able to introduce in a year or two again. I know for me, I couldn't eat any grains for a couple years, and now I'm back to a really good place where I don't swell up like a balloon and I process them well, but my body was thinking it was gluten. And so there's a lot of foods that have gluten mimicking effects. And so when you're in that state of inflammation healing, it's important to know to both remove gluten, but also learn those foods that have gluten mimicking effects that can also essentially be the same at that time as eating gluten.
Well, we subscribe, Laura and I, to a certain eating philosophy that would agree with that. What's interesting is that when I encourage my clients who are not skin clients, but they have other things going on, to take a break from some of these things, let's just take a break, because I suspect that this and this and this is going on, all the leaky gut stuff that you just described. A lot of folks will say, well, I know I'm not sensitive to that. I'm not celiac, for starters.
Right.
And it doesn't upset my stomach. It's like, but you have other things going on. Like, this is the thing is, and I don't say that to the client. I don't say, I would never say that to a client, but understanding the full cascade of leaky gut and how it presents and the root cause of it, I think is pretty crucial to be able to explain to clients that I know you don't feel it in your stomach, you don't get a stomach ache, but you know all this acne you've got going on. This is kind of the mechanism there, because there's a lot of weird feelings about how gluten-free diets are trendy. And if you're not celiac, you don't need to avoid gluten. It's like that protein is inside the wheat plant specifically to irritate the guts of predators. That's its whole job. So we all will do a little better without it, in my opinion. But
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
Yes, that's its whole point. It's an anti-predation defense for the wheat plant, wheat, barley, and rye.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, every plant has something like that.
It has some sort of defense mechanism built into it.
Totally. Well, it's funny that you mentioned people are like, well, I'm not celiac and this is trendy, because I had a family member who was like that too. And she was like, everyone's so annoying with this. And I was like, you're not technically allergic to cigarette smoke, are you? Do you think that's helping you? Right? Like, people get so wrapped up in stuff, and yeah, it can be annoying. There's always some new thing to be afraid of. Like, it's annoying to you, but non-celiac gluten intolerance is a thing. And again, people testing it, just test it out. Like, I've seen at my clinic, dairy is a big trigger for everyone who has acne. However, and gluten is either it doesn't bother some people, or it is the one thing that's keeping them broken out for about 30% of people. So it's a big deal for a huge chunk of people.
Yeah, I mean, from a coaching perspective, it's just about running an experiment. Like, hey, let's just try this.
Yeah.
Because honestly, these elimination protocols can move the dial quickly, you know, like, let's try it for a week and we'll just see if it's not, you know, helping you, then we can revisit it. And sure enough, they'll come back and say, you know, I had all this, and this cleared up. It's like, oh, okay, great. And, you know, we don't have to talk about it in the realm of like allergies or intolerances. We can just say that one doesn't work for you. That food is not great for you. At least now you know, right? And just frame it.
Totally.
And at this point,
it's all about that personal knowledge gained.
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of clients that have always been like, but I've eaten that my whole life. I've never had any problems with it in the past. So then you got to unwind this whole thing about how you were talking about it earlier, Kayleigh, that our bodies change and go through various sort of hormonal changes our entire lives. Our bodies, when we're small, you know, our highest level of stress is that somebody doesn't want to play with me, you know, and then as we age and we gain other, I don't know, I guess obligations and responsibilities, that stress meter continues to fly. Now, all of a sudden, boom, our stress meter is about as high as it's going to get, and it's going to start leaking somewhere.
Yeah.
Got to start to like learn to remove these stressors. But that's a common one that comes up. Like, no, that can't be it. I've been insert whatever it is, doing that, eating that, whatever, my entire life, and I've never had problems before.
And my big answer to that too is things compound. Like, sure, maybe I could eat cheese a couple days in a row and not break out, but then it's compounding in my body, and then all of a sudden I'm breaking out like crazy. And it's like, but I didn't break out from the first 3 days I was eating dairy, so it must not be dairy. It's like, no. These things compound in our bodies, and years of eating gluten has changed over the years. We all know that. Like, it becomes highly, highly more processed. So the foods that we are eating, they're in turn changing. They're becoming less nutrient dense, more processed, all these different things. So the food you were eating 10 years ago probably isn't the same exact food you're eating. Food you're eating maybe even 2 years ago isn't. But then with gluten, sure, maybe in your younger days you didn't, because you have more stomach acid, your body is a lot stronger. But as you get older, it's being weakened over time by all this processed food. And and we're causing more and more damage that finally your body's like, I have had it.
Yeah, exactly. And what I love about your origin stories is hearing you tell your story about how you were lying on Danielle's table and she was asking you all these questions and unpacking all this for you. And so I love to hear that was the experience coming from a practitioner. And I talk to a lot of practitioners these days that are looking to kind of move out of their old model and are curious about health coaching and sort of the role that this can play and how this fits in. And I absolutely sort of see this as a trend. People probably charging a little more, taking on fewer clients, spending more time, and actually getting better results. And by default, feeling more fulfilled with all of it.
I think it's a major movement. People, we start with what is the best option to us, and then we figure out that there's a better way. And we're so complex. Our bioengineering, like, we are so complex. Like, you have to spend more time to really get to know someone's like cycles and their trends and like see how all the little things are affecting them. That more time and charging more for it is the better way to go.
Oh, for sure. And so you clearly had discovered a hole or a need out there when you started developing your stem cell serum. And we talk to people all the time as it relates to building a health coaching business, but any business, a product-based business, it's uncovering what that need really is. And hey, I have an idea, and having the confidence and the inspiration to kind of bring that to market. So you told us a little bit about kind of what started the impetus of ClearStem. Tell us a little bit about that experience, if you don't mind, of, hey, I have an idea, messing around with it, right? Beta testing it. Like, what is the process of bringing a brand new idea, some sort of product out to market? And I know that's a big question, but I just love your thoughts from both perspectives, from both of you.
Totally. I mean, it's a big question, but I feel like it starts with a very simple question. What problem are you solving?
Yep.
What unique problem are you solving? Like, there's fun ideas. That's fabulous, but you got to be solving a problem if you really, really, really want the business to have legs. And if you're going through something and looking around and you're like, none of this shit works, that is an opportunity for a business, right? Figure out why it's not working, figure out a solution, see how big that problem is. Like, what's the total available market? That's kind of like there's product market fit, and then there's like available market. Like, is there enough people with this problem that I could potentially reach it to? And then for beta testing a product, I mean, it depends on if it's like a physical, like a new thing where you have to get like the mold made in China, like that can be kind of daunting, but hey, people do it. But for us, for me, the process was, I knew the exact recipe of the thing that I was trying to create. I knew that it needed to have a certain viscosity, a certain texture, so that it could be massaged, because when you massage something in, you activate circulation, which is your own wound healing response. So I'm like, it needs to have this, feel like this. And okay, I need a chemist. So I did a bunch of research on chemists. I knew I needed one close by so that I could have that relationship. And that chemist's son has acne, and she loved what I was doing, so she took me on. So that's like literally where it started. And then having wonderful clients who would be the end user, like Kayleigh, having her like, you know, like to bounce ideas off of like your focus group, if you will, that we're just giving you honest feedback. Like, you know, then I think an idea will organically grow, and there'll be a tipping point where you know that you can't not make it. And that's the point where you know that like you really have something, and you got to focus and think about, okay, what are your margins? Because a lot of people have great product ideas, but they don't have the margins to support a business. So is there enough value to be able to charge what you need to charge in order to make this thing work? And if there isn't enough value yet, make it more valuable. You know, add another layer of education, add another layer of good ingredient, make sure it freaking works better than anything that it could be else, better than anything else that could be made for that thing you're trying to solve. So yeah, I think just getting those foundational components going, and then it'll kind of just grow from there. Like, you'll know.
And then on the communication and marketing side of things, it's so important that you have the confidence in your own product to be able to educatedly talk about and get excited about. I've talked to a lot of other entrepreneurs, and like when they're starting out and they're trying to create a product, but there's, you know, it's a really saturated market. I mean, skincare is such a saturated market, yet I don't feel that way as building ClearStem, because I don't feel anyone can do it as good as we can. I truly feel that way. And so it's important when building a product to, when you put your heart and soul into it, make it the best you possibly can. So then you show up and you talk to your audience about how incredible your product is and how it is solving a problem. But on the marketing side, it took us a while to dial in our exact messaging, because we knew our messaging, but it would take us a lot longer to explain it. But after a few years and, you know, a million podcasts and networking and telling our story, we really honed it in that we created ClearStem because acne products age your skin. You know, they're so disruptive, so inflammatory, cause some damage. So acne products age your skin. Anti-acne products break you out. So you have
anti-aging products break you out.
Anti-aging products. Then you have anti-aging products that break you out. They're filled with pore clogging ingredients. So these two industries, the acne industry and the aging industry, that have always been working against each other. And we wanted to bring them together and make it non-toxic, because we know everything we put on our skin gets absorbed into our bloodstream. And that's a whole additional conversation to what we already talked about. So we wanted to combine everything together to truly create a product that made products. Now we've gone from, in the last 4 years, have gone from 1 to 12. So products that were truly transformative for people's skin and health.
Cool. Oh, I always think it's so cool to listen to people who built like a physical product. Oh, I just find that so fascinating. I mean, and Kayleigh, I like what you shared, which is, you know, enough about your product that you can really speak to it. Like, you own it. It's, you know, you can clearly speak to it. And Danielle, like so you hired a chemist, obviously. But do you have a working knowledge of what these ingredients are? Or do you just said to the chemist, I want it to feel like this, but you have a working knowledge of the chemistry? Yeah,
I'm obsessed with ingredients. I have a biology background. So I'm extremely obsessed with ingredients. And then when I went back to school to get my license, that's like all I did for like 6 months was research all of the ingredients, the good ones and the bad ones for acne specifically.
Very cool.
Yeah. So so ClearStem is the name of the product. So clearly
the brand.
The brand, yeah.
The brand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are stem cells in every single product that's in that line? Or not?
In all the ones that are appropriate. That's a great question. In all the ones where it makes sense. Kayleigh and I have been lied to so much by the skin industry that it's like, I'm not going to put stem cells in a cleanser because it doesn't fucking matter. You're washing it off, you know? So I'm not going to charge more just to get a marketing thing. Like that's just not our brand ethos. Like, the word clear also has to do with like how transparently we talk about the industry in general. So it won't be in a cleanser because it's not going to do anything. But it is in the actives, and it's, and there's certain, so we mainly use collagen-derived stem cells. It's from donated, purified tissue. No one was harmed in this, but it's like actual collagen, media that is bioavailable, and your skin knows exactly what to do with it. So that's why what's in our Scar serum, our cell renew serum. It's also in our bounce back serum, which is for wrinkles and fine lines, and then it's also in our moisturizer. So the things that you're leaving on your skin, loaded with stem cells, and we put like a really high concentration too.
Yeah, I love that.
I know I'm going to have to pull my credit card out again. Gosh,
We
this
got you guys.
is so expensive.
It's an expensive endeavor.
I-
We're always like, oh,
I,
that's
um,
interesting.
I'm using the medical grade skincare that they tell old ladies to use when you go to your Botox clinic. It's like, you got to use this medical grade skincare. So I'm spending a fortune on it. And when you described earlier, if the product feels denser than your natural oil, it's clogging. And it's like, yeah, that cream I'm using is like, it's like butter. It's like butter.
Yeah, that's probably clogging you up. I mean, if you can get away with it, God love it. You know what I mean? But like, if you're noticing blackheads, that's what it's from.
Wow. Gosh, so cool.
So okay. So we talked about a lot of this stuff. We really didn't get into topically what tends to clog people up, but I'm sure that's a laundry list. What are some of the things that are not in your products that, and why,
Love this question. Okay. So the word comedogenic is the term for how likely an ingredient is to clog your pore physically, right? So the comedogenic scale, and you can Google this, there's lots of lists out there too, but the comedogenic scale goes from 0 to 5. 0 is totally safe, like water. A 5 means it's going to start clogging you up pretty much within a few hours of you putting it on. So things that are a 5, the easiest things for people to remember are coconut oil, shea butter, and then these random chemical names that you would never know to look for, but they're everywhere. Isopropyl myristate, and then isopropyl palmitate. And then the other main one is going to be algae seaweed derivatives. Those are really common in natural products. Algae is a very attractive filler agent for cosmetics companies because it's cheap, it's vegan, it's fair trade, it's plentiful, and it has a nice moisture element to it because it's a greasy, oily seaweed. So it's in a lot of moisturizers. So yeah, it's way thicker than our natural oil.
And that one can have a million name derivatives because algae, seaweed, red algae, anything that's like labeled deep sea, like deep sea mask, that's going to have it in it. So there's going to be a million names, but it's that entire grouping.
Very surprised by that one. Very surprised by that one. Not surprised by shea butter, coconut oil, even those other ones you mentioned that sound like oils. But I'm surprised by algae.
Yeah, there's a pretty big list, but like Danielle mentioned in the beginning, to keep it really easy for everyone, on our website, we have an incredible resource for people. Just, you go to pore clogging ingredients on our website. All of them are listed out in alphabetical order, but we also have a deck where you can literally Google your product online, copy the ingredient deck, paste it on our page, check the ingredients, and all the ones that are pore clogging will show up red. So it makes it really quick and easy for people to check there. And you want to check skincare, makeup, but the other really big one is hair conditioner. You'll know if hair conditioner is breaking up, if you're breaking out a lot on your sleep side, and then also your back where your hair falls.
Well, that's good to know. Because that was going to be my next question is there's a lot of just like body moisturizers that have shea butter, coconut butter, coconut oil, not coconut butter, cocoa butter, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the skin on the rest of us is, like I have always had very dry skin ever since I was a kid. I always do. And I heavily hydrate. And sometimes they're better than others, but it's different skin, no? Or is it kind of all the same and you should avoid those ingredients and everything?
Great question. If you're not acne prone on your body, you know who you are, you can use whatever you want. Try to not use the toxic stuff, because if you have a lotion with a bunch of parabens and you're putting it all over, you're going to just be absorbing that. But in terms of acne, you can kind of use whatever you want on your body if you don't break out on your body. But if you do break out on your body, you do need to pay attention to those ingredients.
And sometimes people have more sensitive areas, like they'll break out on like their butt and their back, for instance, or maybe their chest as well. So they'll have those like really specific breakout areas.
Oh my gosh, this was so fun and helpful.
Learned a lot.
Good. So fun.
Wow.
See, I'm so glad we had you guys on because we're like, we never really talked about skin before. We learned so much. So this was really, and there is some stuff like, I agree with Erin, like something like, this is all the stuff, because a lot of stuff I buy is at the health food store, because I know it's at least removing a lot of the parabens and silicone and all that other garbage that's in so many other things. But it's good to know. I mean, I didn't know that. I wouldn't have known algae can be pore clogging. And the other thing is all these vitamins to be aware of, because you're right, especially coming out of the pandemic. I know a lot of people that were taking what I called the cocktail, which was vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, NAC, to try to just help boost the immune system. So there may be a lot of people that are running around taking an excess amount, because again, if the right dose is good, more has got to be better, right? So that was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. And one thing I always love to finish with is I hate when we're just like telling people all the things they can't do and all the things to be like scared of, but like a lot of those other vitamins you just mentioned are awesome and they're anti-aging. Like NAC, NAD is amazing. Taking like vitamin C, I have this vitamin C with bioflavonoids that is like insane. It's from that Solar Ray brand. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can take that will boost your immune system, but it won't cause you to break out. Like, I'm surprised L-lysine didn't get talked about way more during the pandemic. L-lysine is a powerful antiviral and it's a collagen cofactor. Take that all the time. It's amazing.
Well, there was a lot that wasn't talked about. I mean, you had to really be geeky and really be like knee deep, like hip deep in all the alternative sort of.
You gotta do your own research.
Oh yeah. Because most other people are like, what are you talking about? So
no, we love talking to health coaches because I mean, everyone listening right now, you can have a client that comes to you with cystic acne and you're doing everything, right? You're doing all the elimination diets. You're like eliminating food, you're bringing in food, you're lowering stress levels, all these things. And what if the one missing piece was also they're using so many pork-like ingredients in their skincare? That could be the one missing piece that they just like can't get rid of their acne because of that. So it's so important to know that acne is both internal and external. And as a health coach, you need that external information too, because it's going to make you more successful with your clients too.
Well, I love that you have a tool. I love they have a tool. I was going to say, because for most health coaches, that would feel like out of their wheelhouse. Like, I don't know anything about topical ingredients. It's like, just here's the pore clog checker thing on this website. Like, just send them to really the tool you have on your website.
Yeah. Or they, if we have some health coaches listening that are obsessed with skin and want to help people with skin, that can be something that they offer to their clients. Product review or something like that.
Yeah. We have a lot of coaches that earn an income through either affiliate marketing or a lot of like beauty counter people, right? So, or
that's filled with pork-like ingredients. Yeah,
I'm sure. But whatever but there's one coach in particular I can think of, and Erin, I think I know who you know who I'm talking about, spends a lot of time talking about just environmental toxins and a lot of the stuff that's in her skincare, and she's built her entire practice around it. And she's all over Instagram and the reels and the pointing to all these crappy ingredients and things of that nature. But, I think if you find something that you believe in, and that you use personally anyway, this happens. Your clients are going to ask you for recommendations on things and brands that you use. So if this is something that you wholeheartedly believe in, as long as your client knows, hey, by the way, I earn a commission if you buy this one, just like open dialogue. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that and building sort of an affiliate relationship or a referral relationship or what have you.
And if this sparks any inspiration,
kind of ambassadors that are coaches.
Yeah. And if this sparks any inspiration in health coaches that do want to niche down or realize they have a lot of clients with acne, we created Ditch Your Acne protocol. It's all audio. It's about 8 hours worth of information that takes them through all different modules that are hormones, nutrition, digestion, products, everything, all relating to acne. So it's just a really great resource. We have a lot of health coaches that just go through it, listen to the program, and then they now have all this additional information to be able to support their clients with.
I love that.
Awesome.
Cool. Awesome. So where can people find all that stuff? So where can people find you and all these resources? How can they follow you?
A great resource is heading to our website, clearstemskincare.com. Also on Instagram, Clearstem Skincare. My personal Instagram is Kayleigh.Christina and Danielle's is the Acne Guru.
Ooh.
Oh, that's owning it, girl.
She is the world's acne guru. We could talk for hours more.
No kidding. We could keep going forever. But we try to be respectful of people's time. So I think you've really given us a lot of really valuable information. And I love that. And I applaud you for taking something you're passionate about and something you're good at and building a thriving business out of it and sharing it with others. So thank you. I learned a lot. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on.
You got it.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.